You buy a house, you move in, you're all excited about it, but there's a history there that you didn't know about. Hey, everybody, I am Better Call Harry here with Anastasia Almos, talking about a story that only Anastasia can do and do it right. And it's a nightmare. It really is. So, all right. So tell us about what happened in this flood.
Harry, you made this sound like a ghost story. Like,
you
don't know what the history is. There's ghosts. No, this is about a storm drain. I mean, Atlanta is known, Metro Atlanta, and even, the outskirts here it's known for having older communities with older pipes, and the infrastructure they've really had to work on in past, years, just recently, really, with the pipes bursting and flooding issues. But the thing is that when something's, dormant in a neighborhood and you move in and it's not an issue at the time, and then you're kind of noticing some flooding, and then, oh my gosh, you start digging and you find what we call the culprit here in this community. So this takes us to Adair Park, where a homeowner reached out to us and said, I think the city has a stormwater pipe in my backyard, and they're telling me it's not theirs. And so, of course, when they write into us, we're like, okay, can we help you? So let's take a dig into this story here. They say a picture is worth 1,000 words.
They did love it.
But these pups aren't at a dog beach. This is a doggy daycare in Adair Park after a February rain.
Clients were like, hey, my dog needs a bath. So that was an issue. And obviously there's, like the safety issue. What's floating around in this water if it's sitting there, and wherever it's coming from, what it's bringing.
The daycare added permeable pavers and fenced off part of their yard. But behind the fence,
when it rains here, you might as well take out your kayak and start paddling.
Homeowners say their properties become a neighborhood reservoir.
Debris and garbage and just all sorts of pollution.
Drew Stuslav bought this home off Oak Hill Avenue 5 years ago.
One of the things that's great about Adair Park is we have these great historic homes here, and unfortunately in the last 40 years or so, the neighborhood's been somewhat disinvested in.
Drew says he and neighbors invest what they can to refurbish the Atlanta bungalows.
To really take root here and take pride in where we live.
When he installed this adjoining driveway, he says the city permit required him to add green infrastructure to address stormwater runoff. When landscape architect and neighbor Zach Dibble got on the scene, it happened to be raining at the time.
And it became very evident this water was not just coming from his driveway.
Zach pumped water out of the backyard for more than a week.
April 14th. 2025.
And found the culprit.
We are starting to see a cement pipe.
A pipe outlet, 18 inches in diameter.
A significant pipe, something a homeowner would never put in.
But when they reached out to the city, Atlanta's Department of Watershed Management said they didn't have any record of a storm drain in that area. An employee stated the pipe may be an old private pipe of some sort, and it is not something that we can take responsibility for.
It's almost like an archaeological dig. There's layers and layers and layers of abandoned infrastructure, but it is still the city's responsibility to own and maintain that, despite the fact that it's not currently on their records.
Not getting answers, neighbors reached out to Atlanta News First Investigates for help. The original map the city gave us only shows storm drain points, not pipes, so we kept digging. We put in a records request with the city for historic stormwater data and found a map from 1969 shows that this storm drain did in fact run straight through the back of these properties between Metropolitan Parkway and Oak Hill Avenue, now abandoned. Could the pipe be part of this old system?
Well, we know where it goes, but we don't know where it comes from.
Watershed told Atlanta News First Investigates that this area is a low point where water naturally goes with no known public drainage systems. But residents tell us flooding issues in the Adair Park community are not unique to just this block. We found 24 residents reporting flooding to the city's 311 office in the last 2 years.
Unfortunately, I think there's a little bit of historic element here at play of this just being a disenfranchised, low-income neighborhood.
The cost to dig up the historic pipe in just these yards.
Hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Neighbors already pouring thousands of dollars into the mud, barking up a storm of their own, begging the city to fetch a solution.
The management of this is just completely unacceptable.
When we asked if the city is going to address the neighbors' concerns, they said in part, the state constitution prohibits the use of public funds to improve private property, adding that they'd ensure the surrounding inlets were draining stormwater effectively.
okay, this really is, it's a mess. And it's one of those stories that as reporters, we get these and look at it and go, what do you do with this? And what do they do? I mean, what can they do moving on from here?
I'm not gonna lie. The very first interview, I was like, "What's going on?" Like, I kind of couldn't grasp like what the real issue was. Where would the stormwater pipe come from, and how do we prove this? And then I, did the records request and got the maps. And then I remember getting that 1969 map and going like, "It's right there." Like, what do you mean? But of course, if the city says it's not their property and they don't have record of them approving a stormwater pipe in that area, then they don't. We can't say that they do. The records show that something was there at some point. And then really what we did is we overlaid the maps and we could see that there really was an alleyway behind the properties that it's about 10 feet. We did find a document that also kind of drew it into one of the neighbors' properties. So 10 feet back there, which was not originally the homeowner's responsibility. It would be an alleyway that used to be run by the city decades ago, but they since abandoned those alleyways. And so those are falling to the homeowners just kind of by, just chance of, you split this 5 feet and you split this 5 feet, and it's not drawn into their property records, which also to me just raises a lot of questions because you've got your property taxes, your land value, what you're going to sell, things like that. But when I tried to ask these questions, the city would just say, like, we don't have any records, not only of them approving a stormwater pipe there, but easements as well. They looked into their court records, their legal documents of approving anything in that area. So when they abandoned the alleyway, technically whatever was there, whoever approved it, became the homeowner's responsibility. And so in that situation, the takeaways here are to try to do your research thoroughly before buying a property because, we've even had people here at Atlanta News First Investigates run into the same issue on their properties where they find storm issues and flooding issues behind their fences. And so when this particular homeowner had moved in, there was a fence there. And so he didn't know what was behind it. How would he have known what was under the ground and behind the fence? And so you really got to do that research, looking around, asking your neighbors. If you see any signs of, overgrowth, that maybe something's under there, dig it up before you buy the property and just, really know as much as you can before, buying.
Yeah, one of them, it's one of your takeaways in the piece, which was talk to the neighbors, knock on doors. They'll tell you, they'll know. Because if you're going to buy a house and you see there's a new fence there and it's kind of hiding something, all you got to do is say, hey, is there any flooding in the neighborhood? Is there any issues? And, you might get a neighbor who's like, well, no, because, they want the property to sell. Or you may get somebody who's like, yeah, man, it floods all the time.
And those the requests that we put in, for 311 for the storm, issues, they're not just in that particular area. They were throughout the Adair Park community. And I know Adair Park had created that original park and storm pond to help with a lot of it, but it doesn't mean that there aren't areas that still are flooding. For instance, even just the doggy daycare. She originally told me that, oh no, we put some gravel back there and it's fine. And then as I started to continue the conversation, she was like, oh yeah, the dogs used to get so dirty back there and there was, flooding issues. And then we put up the fence. And I'm like, oh, so you really did experience it. They kind of forget,
Right.
how bad it used to
Oh,
be.
yeah, it does flood here.
So don't just ask the neighbor one question, but maybe, prolong the conversation and try to really dig into the past as well. Because, homeowners there that share that backyard area, they're telling me they would love to, redo the landscape and put in a fireplace and just really make it a community spot, but they feel kind of abandoned.
Yeah, and I don't know I don't think they can sue the city on this one. Unless they can document with what you came up with and then start running cameras down the pipe and find a little stamp on there that says, City of Atlanta.
And that was kind of like my next steps when I was talking with them after the story aired is, okay, what were we not able to find out? Is there some sort of branding on the pipe that we can figure out whose pipe that is and whose responsibility
Right.
it is? I even went to, it would be was it the codes department or property. I think I went to the property department with the city, and I sent them a map, and I said, can you tell me this old alleyway, if it is not drawn into the homeowners' properties, whose is it? And they explained to me that the city essentially fell to the homeowners. So even though it's not drawn into their lines when they buy the property, it is also still their responsibility. And it's an unfortunate answer and outcome here, but it really is a wake up call for people who are buying properties.
Well, I still like my sales pitch better on the you don't know what's there kind of, well, I mean,
Ghosts.
really, I mean, if we had started the story with, here's a story about a pipe, but no.
Mm-hmm.
This is, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
It's a Harry to
listen,
story.
Thanks for that. It was a great story, great information.
We're here, yeah. I mean, and also, of course, we'll take any other tips. I know if we can connect, some of these stormwater pipes to other neighborhoods and, same issues, maybe we can get some more answers.
Yep. All right. Anastasia, I almost called you Stasi. Well, she's my desk mate, so I get to call her Stasi. But you will call her Anastasia. Anyway, all right, folks, thanks for watching or thanks for listening. And remember, you can listen to this wherever you get your podcasts and reach out to us. If you can go to our website and email, ANF Investigates. You can email me, Better Call Harry at WANF.com, and we'll take a look. All right, folks, thanks for joining, and we'll see you next time.